Hello, everyone. My name is Marie with the Oak Initiative, and I am here with Congressman Ralph Norman. And today we're going to be discussing the possibility, the real possibility, of the GOP regaining the House.
I think most people realize that when you see Speaker of the House, a lot of people don't realize the power that you have. The Speaker of the House is determined by the party that has more members. At this time, the Democratic Party has 17 more members than the Republican Party. So they've got the votes to pick the Speaker of the House, who is the third in line for president. She sets all the committees. She determines who goes on committees. She determines what legislation is brought up. She is basically the gatekeeper for Congress in the House. And before the Senate can consider anything, it has to originate in the House. And Nancy Pelosi has been the Speaker for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And her values are not South Carolina values. I don't think they're American values. I think they're her values as she sees it. And we need to pick up 17 members to get control back. And I think we have a good possibility of that because we got great candidates. But now, along with that, the responsibility, if we get control of the House, if the Republicans outnumber the Democrats, is to do something with it.
Yes.
During the power for the sake of power is no good. We've got to have great legislation. We've got to get the budget handled where the nation is solvent. And we've got to put priorities back in order. And I think that's the challenge that we face. We're up to the challenge, though. The last 2 years have not been fun. With Nancy Pelosi in control, it's just not something that I want to go through another 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure a lot of your viewers agree with you on that. Can you give me an idea of some of the races maybe we can be praying for that where the Democrat might be vulnerable?
Out in California, which you have very few conservatives, Mike Garcia won a special election, and she took the place of Katie Hill, who was a liberal Democrat. Pray for him because the Democrats are really coming after, want to keep that seat. In our home state of South Carolina, Lindsey Graham has got $100 million spent against him by the Democrats. Lindsey Graham has been stalwart on Amy Coney Barrett. He's responsible for her being brought to the committee and voted on. He was a tremendous help with Kavanaugh. Pray for him. Pray for Chip Roy out in Texas. He's up against a longtime politician and Miss Gray, who is as liberal as you could find. Mm-hmm. Chip Roy is a true patriot and needs to be reelected.
Yes.
Pray for him. They have races. Charlie Crisp has a race, who was a former governor, who turned to a Democrat. He has no core values. He's running against a girl that her name escapes me, but she's in the military. She's self-made, mm-hmm. and but those races come to mind.
Great.
Now.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I've heard of a few too, including some other ones in California.
Scott Perry out in Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
Scott's having a tough race. Louis Gohmert out in Texas. Brian Babin in mm-hmm. Texas. Texas has so many electoral votes, and that's why we've got to keep. We've got to get a handle on immigration and put candidates in office that aren't going to allow these states to increase their illegal immigration population and then allow them to vote when they're not legal citizens, therefore get an additional congressional seat.
Yes, I have one final thing I wanted to ask you to comment on. I've also noticed that there have been some rhinos, meaning Republicans in name only, who have been defeated in primaries. I'm thinking right now of Scott Tipton in Colorado, yeah. who was beaten in the primary by a woman named Lauren Boebert. I can't pronounce her name. Have you noticed that in other primary races where some of the rhinos have been defeated and replaced by constitutionally conservative candidates for Congress?
I have, and Scott was a good person, but he just kind of went along to get along. Mm-hmm. Americans are tired of that.
Yes.
Joe Cunningham, he's a Democrat, but he's portraying himself as a moderate. Somebody explain to me how you're a moderate now. When you vote with Nancy Pelosi 96% of the time, how are you a moderate? How do you come together on these issues that, as I mentioned, it's two different worldviews, mm-hmm. abortion, not abortion, legal immigration, mass immigration. Second Amendment, taking our gun rights away. And by the way, they're doing that by making gun manufacturers liable for accidents, tying them up in court, making them fight lawsuits.
Ugh.
And that's how they do that. People tell me all the time, well, Ralph, they're not going to change the Constitution. They can't get to 2/3 votes, and it's an impossibility. Not if you bankrupt them. They're looking at serial numbers for ammunition, stamping each one.
Ugh.
It's cost prohibitive. So that's what the liberals, that's what the socialists are doing. I tell you the other thing too, Maria, we've lost our education system. We're not going to win another election if we allow the education system to promote socialism, not promote both sides. We ought to be yelling from the rooftops, you're going to put both sides and let the students decide and have both sides presented.
Yes.
You're looking at one system that's 100% fail rate versus the democratic system, democracy, which is 100% pass rate, success rate. Look at America. So we got to get a handle on the education system. That's part of my job, and each of your viewers listening to get a voice when it comes to education.
Thank you so much, Ralph Norman, and thank you for listening to our program.